Good afternoon, everybody, or good evening, wherever it is for you, and welcome to the very first edition of Talking, or WWE, of my WWE podcast here, Steve's Wrestling Ramble of 2016. You're reviewing, excuse me, the first Monday Night Raw of 2016. I do apologize for stumbling there. Here I have my new headset. Hopefully it works out here for this first episode. Let me know in the comment section below this video if you can hear me better, if I sound more clear, clearer than before, or if nothing's changed and I need to quickly learn how to use this thing. It doesn't look too hard, but I just wanted to make sure that maybe my sound is actually being picked up and it's actually sounding a lot more clear than what I had previously, which was just a regular music headphone. Than actually now here with a mic. So welcome to Steve's Wrestling Ramble, and tonight we're going to be going over, as I said, I'm going over Monday Night Raw, the first Monday Night Raw of 2016. And to me, it really did not disappoint. At least it did not disappoint me in how they came back to Monday Night Raw after the end of 2015, now into 2016, with the first week of 2016 here. And this edition of Monday Night Raw was not as bad as most people think. Now, I respect people's opinions, other podcasters, YouTubers, and wrestling personalities alike. Everybody has an opinion, and I respect everybody's. But in my opinion, I think Monday Night Raw was a pretty dang good show. Now, with any show, there's highs and lows, and there definitely were. There were some lows to Monday's broadcast, but I think all in all, it was at least B plus effort, in my opinion. Now, now let's go going through Raw here from the start to finish. Starting off with Stephanie McMahon and Roman Reigns promo together. I found it interesting. I even tweeted it out. My Twitter handle at WWE_podcast. That was kind of a nice twist there, seeing Roman Reigns there coming out and interrupting while Stephanie was coming down the ring. You usually don't see that. I'm sure it does happen in the past, but at least it's something that's been hidden. That's something that hasn't happened in a long time, at least not to my recollection of WWE history of something like that happening. Now, it's not a big thing. It's not a super thing. But to me, those little things, and that's what I do. I notice the little things, whether it's pro wrestling or NFL football or anything. I notice the little things, and that little thing, starting off Raw there, was pretty cool, I guess, pretty funny, got me laughing a little bit, giggling at least, when it happened. But then again, that's just me, and I am a mark, I am part of Main Event Marks, that is tomorrow night, as well, live, Google Hangouts on their channel, Main Event Marks, check it out. But then, I had back and forth between Stephanie and Roman telling Stephanie that if Vince McMahon doesn't watch out while being the special guest referee for the title match at the main event of Raw, that she will be picking him up from a hospital because he's gonna kick his butt. Sort of talk there, but I thought it was pretty good. I think less is more, and that is best when dealing with Roman Reigns and promos. Not having him, by himself, cutting a 20-minute promo. Having him with somebody, whether it's Stephanie McMahon, Triple H, it doesn't have to be a McMahon. It doesn't have to be the Authority, because at some point the Authority's not going to be there, and he's going to have a promo with somebody else, because he's going to have a feud with somebody else. But what WWE can take from his promos here with Stephanie and with Vince McMahon and Paul Triple H Levesque and the McMahon family and the Authority, is that with dealing with Roman Reigns and promos, is that A, less and more with him talking, B, always have somebody with him when he's doing it, and when he does do promos by himself, I think it still would be best for business, pun intended, best for business for him to not having to say so much, not having to, as people said, bore them, or history lessons with Roman Reigns every time he does a promo by himself. Okay, I like Roman Reigns. I'm a mark for Dean Ambrose. He's my number one of current WWE superstars. But Roman Reigns definitely even over the year, during the year 2015, actually grew on me more and more as the time went through. And I know that didn't happen to a lot of people. I know there's people that still dislike him or thinking he's being shoved down our throats, yada yada. And like I said, I respect that. But we'll see how things going forward. Now we have the difference in the Royal Rumble. I'll be talking about that later on in this episode. But the opening of Raw, to me, pretty darn good. No issues, in my opinion. So I don't know. I just think things are going to get really interesting when we get to the Royal Rumble time, and like I said, I'll be talking. Excuse me, sorry about that. Talk about that later on. Neville versus KO Kevin Owens. Went on one. Dean Ambrose on commentary. I think Dean Ambrose did pretty well there on commentary. The match itself between Neville and Kevin Owens did pretty well for what it was supposed to be. Neville to do the work, putting over Kevin Owens. For Neville fans out there, it might suck a little bit that he's not really being utilized that much, but at least the fact that he's still on Raw for one, and for two, kind of part of the storyline between Kevin Owens and Dean Ambrose, even just in a match singly, I think at least can be a good thing. So, but I think this Kevin Owens Dean Ambrose rivalry is going to be pretty good. Dean Ambrose, yes, he's a face, but he's still the lunatic fringe. And you got Kevin Owens, who could be the number one heel in WWE, with Seth Rollins still being on the shelf for the time being that he's still recovering from his injury. That feud, now going to the Royal Rumble, I think he's going pretty gosh darned well. Again, in my opinion. And next up, then we have Titus O'Neil versus Stardust. Titus O'Neil defeating Stardust. The match was okay. One of those, I guess, iffy spots of Raw. I mean, I am a big fan of Cody Rhodes. And actually, he's growing at me, the Stardust character. I mean, I guess his promos seem over the top and outlandish, but then again, that's the character. That's what he's supposed to do. He's doing the job right, in my opinion. So I think this sort of character's growing on me. And I think this match between him and Titus O'Neil was okay, but to others it was just like, why isn't it there? No story behind it, all that other stuff. But I think just for one match, pretty good. And Titus O'Neil, for everything he does outside the ring for WWE, sometimes is even more beneficial to WWE than what he does in the ring. And whether Titus wants that or not, I'm sure he wants a successful wrestling career as much as the Emperor kind of career with WWE. Either way, he has some staying power in WWE in that way, that he could be used in a different way if his wrestling career doesn't work out, or if Vince McMahon, Stephanie McMahon, Triple H decide not to push him as a wrestler, but maybe keep him with WWE in the other way, kind of like what they're going to be doing with Daniel Bryan if Daniel Bryan has to retire. They'll be using him, marketing things and go on tours. I mean, he was in India. I think I saw a YouTube video on the WWE YouTube channel about his reception there. So, we'll see, and I'm sure both superstars will be in the Rumble. So, if anything, that was the reason for their match. I guess, I don't know. Next up, we have Becky Lynch versus the Divas champion Charlotte. Again, I think it was a pretty good match for excuse me, for a Divas match. It was a great match, actually, and I think the way that they're trying to build up Becky Lynch as goody two shoes, type of face character. Now Charlotte completely going heel, of course. She's one of my favorites of the Divas division. As a podcast host, I would love to have her as a guest sometime. She's not only is she a beautiful woman, but she's very good at what she does as a woman competitor, as a woman wrestler there in the WWE. So definitely would love to interview her and get to know the real woman behind Charlotte character. But like I said, all in all in this match, I think you can kind of see where things are going. You get into the get to Royal Rumble, you're probably gonna have a match between those two for the Divas Championship. But I still don't see Becky getting the title because I still think the end game is gonna have Charlotte versus Sasha at WrestleMania 32 for the Divas Championship, and then we'll go from there. And I think that's where Sasha will get her moment. There's all those Sasha Banks fans out there. Definitely would hope that would be the outcome because they're not using Sasha right now, and I think there's a reason to that, reason to the madness. And even when they do use her, a lot of WWE fans think they're using her in the wrong way or in a silly gimmick way or whatever. But there's that light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. There's that bigger prize that's out there. There's an end game to what they're doing because WWE don't do anything without having a purpose of doing everything or with doing everything. So with the booking of Sasha Banks, I think that's the way it's going because it's going to build up to her having that match at WrestleMania. Now I'm not saying it's gonna WWE's gonna try to spin it as it coming out of nowhere, but it's going to be more of a slower build because we still have so long to WrestleMania in April, which April, the best month of the year because it's the month for WrestleMania, near the end of March Madness, and my birthday month. But beyond that, I think that's how things are at least going to go in the Divas division. But obviously we'll see. But but at least with this match on Raw, it was pretty good. And Becky Lynch getting the surprise win. It made sense. It made sense to the story. It made sense with everything else. So definitely pretty good. Ryback versus the Big Show in a no contest, which I guess made sense to anyone. We had the Wyatt family come out there, attack both the Big Show and the big guy Ryback. And how you doing, Mr. Mike Malone?
What's up? How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
Good, good. I got 10 minutes, and then I gotta run back into my kitchen because I'm cooking that. So I don't want to burn my apartment down, but I figured I'd jump on while I'm waiting. Then once I get all my food processed, I'll come back and I'll eat while I'm talking. Not with my mouth full, obviously.
Of course. I was just going through Raw piece by piece. I guess just to ask you, what are your overall thoughts on Monday Night Raw and everything that went down?
It wasn't a bad Raw. It wasn't a great Raw, but it wasn't bad. There's a lot of things that are going on the program that I question. But other than that, I mean, overall, from beginning to end, I mean, I'm a little over Roman Reigns as champion. I wish they would just let him be the badass that he was in the Shield. That's what got him over in the first place. Now I just feel like all he wants to do is crack jokes and smile in the ring and be happy. And for me, I see right through that. It's not the Samoan badass that I saw when he debuted as one of the Shield members. But other than that, I mean, I thought Raw was okay. It wasn't bad. You're not going to have those 5-star Raws every week, and I've learned to accept that.
Yeah, like I said at the top of the program, that I thought Raw was a lot better and I gave it more of a praise than most out there constituents that do YouTube videos or whatever, personalities that thought that it sucked so much. I think it actually was pretty good. That opening promo between Stephanie McMahon and Roman Reigns was pretty good. I know we've talked about on Main Event Marks about less and more with Roman Reigns and how that's good. I think WWE can learn from what they're doing with this storyline with the Authority and have him out there with Stephanie either by herself or with Vince McMahon or Triple H at some point. Have him speak less and kick ass more for the Roman Reigns for the Roman Reigns, and then maybe he'll actually get over in the eyes of the fans, fans like you and others that might not be keen to him right now. That maybe over time, maybe that would help. Would that help, or would it not really matter? That really anything that they try to do, they try to spin it and try to give you something that could be best for Roman Reigns and for you, that it wouldn't really matter, that you just see what WWE's doing, trying to push them down your throat, that you just don't care what they try to do. You're just not going to like them.
No, it's not that I don't like him. I like Roman Reigns. I think he's a cool, guy. It just, the Roman Reigns from TLC at the end where he just went psycho and just destroyed everything. I thought that was like, shadowing that he was escaping that smiling Roman Reigns, the as people like to call it, the John Cena 2.0 Roman Reigns, or that, and just becoming a badass again. And now all of a sudden he's got the title and he's just all smiles and like I would love to just see like someone like a Lesnar or somebody just smack the smile off his face. I just can't stand it. It's like every time he goes in the ring, it's like after every word, it's son, and he's always smiling. I see right through that. The Roman Reigns that I want is the real Roman Reigns, is just that badass character that just comes in, says less, and just runs right through guys.
Yeah, and I would hope that maybe that's where they're going to go with him. Maybe they'll actually have that him being the badass. Maybe at some point, maybe the whole master plan could be, and that might just be me overthinking things, but maybe him actually going heel and joining the Authority. What we thought was going to happen at Survivor Series at the end of the title tournament, that would have been a great opportunity there when he was facing his brother Dean Ambrose. At that point, maybe that could be the end game with Triple H, or
Uh,
entirely different now with how the Rumble is going to be now with the title on the line.
yeah, I know, and I'm looking back at it. I mean, when that was announced, I was a little distracted by other news, which I'm sure we'll get into later.
Mm-hmm.
But I look back at it, and that's actually a pretty cool concept because I'm sure they just were at the table where all the writers are, and they all just threw their hands up in the air, didn't know what they were going to do for the title match, they didn't know who they wanted to win the Rumble. Here's an easy out of both of them. Put the title on the line at the Rumble. There you go. You kill two birds with one stone. Triple H can screw Roman Reigns out of the WWE title, somehow eliminating him, and now you have a new champion that's going to be crowned.
So, you
And
know
then
what?
that also foreshadows, the rumors of Triple H versus Roman at WrestleMania.
For sure, and I have a feeling that's I have a weird feeling that something big's going to go down at the Royal Rumble. I don't think it's going to be cut and dry that Roman Reigns is going to go through 29 other WWE superstars and retain the championship. I think some kind of swerve, some kind of finish, maybe Triple H winning the title, winning the Rumble kind of situation, maybe Brock Lesnar, but now with the title being the line, I think that's less of a possibility in my opinion for him to win the Rumble, because I think what's going to happen is Roman's not going to win the title. B, they're gonna have some sort of finish there at the end, so they can have because they have Fastlane is next. I know people poo-poo Fastlane, whatever, it's because it's between WrestleMania and Royal Rumble. They just want to get to the WrestleMania part, but you have to have something for Fastlane. You have to have a main event there, and you have to have a challenger because now you have the title on the line in the Royal Rumble. You don't have that number one contendership as you usually do, um, for every other Royal Rumble, but 1991 and this year. So have maybe have a finish like that, and then you have your feud, and you have your main event for Fastlane, and then whatever you want to build to for the WrestleMania. Maybe it will be Triple H and Roman Reigns. Now that The Rock said he's going to be at WrestleMania, and now the title being in line, maybe The Rock being in this Royal Rumble. I really feel that this Royal Rumble can be, quite honestly, I think it could be one of the best Royal Rumbles in WWE history if they book it right, if they stack it as well as they should. They have Chris Jericho announced, come back and announce he's going to be in the 2016 Royal Rumble. Let's say you put The Undertaker in there. You have Brock Lesnar. Maybe next week he announces he's in there. You just stack the deck, not just against Roman Reigns, part of the storyline with the Authority, but just in general for the WWE audience, WWE universe, to have this Royal Rumble stacked as great as much as they can with what they have. You're always going to have, Deuce is going to be in there. The Social Outcasts now, those four Mastodons there, and others. But as you can have a great Final Four. Think of this: you can have The Rock, Brock Lesnar, Triple H, and Roman Reigns as your Final Four in the 2016 Royal Rumble. I think that would be awesome. What do you think?
You won't see The Rock till Mania. He's filming a movie right
Okay.
now. He's obligated right now. Um, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Triple H has entered in the Rumble. Me personally, I hope he's not. I hope he just shows up somehow and screws Roman Reigns out of the title, which would have been cooler. I mean, not only the fact that they would have Roman defend at the Rumble against 29 others, but would have been even more of an asshole move by Mr. McMahon is putting Roman at number 1 in the Royal Rumble. That would have been something to see. If Roman's cardio can last the entire Rumble, and that if he can make it through 29 other guys, literally. Final four, truthfully, I hope my man Kevin Owens, the mark inside of me, hopes that somehow, some way, he pulls it out and shocks the world. That. Now, is that going to happen? Probably not. Right? But just what if, because you got to remember John Cena's lurking. That he's going to be involved in this Royal Rumble. I mean, they have to involve him. He's all over. He's plastered all over the promo of the Royal Rumble.
Right. It would make no sense to not have him in there.
Yeah. So, I mean, you could have Lesnar and Cena battling it out, and Owens could be that guy who just hangs out on the outside. He didn't go over the top rope, but he's hanging out outside. He went under the rope. And next, Owens just spills into the ring and eliminates both of them, dumps them both over the top rope, like if they're battling on the rope. Mm-hmm. And Owens is your new champion, and he goes into WrestleMania. Like that as champion. You could have that dream match that every mark is talking about, the Lesnar versus Owens match. And that, it's cool putting the WWE title on the Rumble because it adds so much interest. Like if I'm going to rewind back to Survivor Series, they had a tournament for a vacated WWE title. That, even though the tournament wasn't as good as I thought it would be, it still added intrigue and it had added interest. Like I was interested as a fan. I loved the Royal Rumble. The Royal Rumble is my favorite pay-per-view ever since I was a little kid. Now adding the title into the match, now I'm fully invested. Now I want to see what's going to happen. Last time that happened was the 1992 Royal Rumble when Ric Flair entered at number 3, and he came out and won like that. So it's something different, and I see creative is finally like grasping that they need to kind of change a little bit and do different things to pull viewership in, and I see they're heading in the right direction. Let's just see if they can actually follow through with the anticipation.
So do you think there are going to be any other big names, like I mentioned, with Brock Lesnar coming, being announced that he's going to be coming back next week, he might be in the Rumble, maybe an Undertaker. Do you think there'll be other marquee either Attitude Era guys or just guys of the past that might come back to try to stack this, like I said, because I said that this, Royal Rumble could be one of the best of all time, and could even be, depending on how it's booked and how it goes, could be better than 92 with Flair. If I was so, who do you think, or who would you be guessing could be those part-timers or legends that could make this a?
I wouldn't be surprised if Taker shows up. I think he should show up. I'd be kind of shocked if he didn't, truthfully. You got Taker. Lesnar's definitely a top front candidate. You're gonna have those funny returns or that. Where was that? I remember the Royal Rumble I went to. I was back in 2007, I believe, in Madison Square Garden, where they had Jimmy Superfly Snuka come out, and then the next entrant was Roddy Piper. So you got to think of those entrants. They have to have the comic relief or the nostalgic moments like that. So you got to knock out maybe 2 or 3 numbers that are just going to be pointless. And that. Who else would it be? It'd be crazy to say. That'd be cool to see Sting, but I don't think he's healthy right now. I think he's still recovering from that, which should be smart to keep him away from that, and hopefully he's good to go at Mania. Triple H is a possibility. I hope he doesn't participate. I hope he just comes out and screws Roman Reigns. There's so many things. With these recent signings with an AJ Styles, they could just jump NXT and throw AJ Styles into the Royal Rumble just to get that shock value factor. Simply because of the fact that AJ Styles is a marketable name. Everybody knows AJ Styles. You don't have to put him through the developmental system. You could just bring him right to the top. then he'll be just fine. But you got to excuse me for a minute. I have to go check on the food that's baking. I don't want a fire happening.
All right,
Give me 1 sec. I'll be right back.
that's fine. Go ahead. And as he goes, I'm going to continue along with Monday Night Raw. Next, we have the League of Nations versus the Usos. Another okay match. I mean, tag team. I mean, on Raw, you always see 6-on-6 or tag team matches. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, you're probably going to have all four of these competitors that are, the League of Nations members that you had. All four of them probably in the Rumble. But these two, in particular, Del Rio, Alberto Del Rio, and Rusev, the Usos. But the match itself, I think, was pretty pretty good. I mean, you had the League of Nations get when I kind of was surprised there for little reasons, but all in all, the match is still pretty good. Excuse me.
All right, I'm back. Just letting you know, every time you touch your mic, the sound picks it up.
Okay, thank you.
What were you getting into while I stepped away for a minute?
I was talking about the League of Nations versus the Usos match. I don't know if you had anything to say about that.
Honestly, I missed a little portion of that match because I was cooking and that.
Mm-hmm.
I caught the tail end of it. And that with I believe it was Del Rio pinned one of the Usos.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about the match, honestly. Was it a good match? Was it worth going back on Hulu Plus and watching, if they even have it?
I don't know if it's a Hulu Plus. I know I saw someone in the March group talk about the addition of Hulu Plus or wherever they watch. They said they said it was that the Heath Slater promo with his new friends was cut out, but the match, that no contest match between Ryback and the Big Show, was in there. That's all I saw about that. I don't know if this tag team match, but to me, I think it was okay. I mean, it's just another tag team match. Just build upon with the League of Nations. You're gonna have probably all. You're going to have all four members in the Royal Rumble plus the Usos. But I thought the match in itself was all right.
I'll definitely have to check out Hulu Plus and see if they have it. I'm upset that they cut out the social outcasts. I'm actually kind of liking that. It's a bunch of weirdos, four weirdos together. It reminds me of the Job Squad. You remember the Job Squad?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, pin me, pay me. That was their motto.
And I think these guys being even more comedians, more comedic in their way. Next match here, talking about the new Job Squad here, Social Outcast, Heath Slater versus Dolph Ziggler. Heath Slater getting the win makes sense. You just formed this faction. I guess WWE is in a faction frenzy with all these teams and everything. Even though on the Divas side, PCB is in a total breakup now. But you still have the two others in the in the men's side too. But Heath Slater, win here, cool to see him on Raw. I guess he's been trending on Twitter for the last couple of weeks with hashtags and appreciations. I know I saw that on your Twitter feed.
Hashtag Slater Appreciation Day.
Heath Slater Appreciation Day, and this one now for this week was hashtag Social Outcast being the name of their little group there. What do you think of that? I know you already started to say that, but what are your?
I think if it's done correctly, and I think just like with the New Day, you just have to let these guys do their thing. Don't write their scripts. Don't tell them to do this. Just give them the ball and let them roll with it. And I think they're going to be just fine because Heath Slater somehow, just like Zack Ryder, got himself over through social media and that. And I think it's going to work if they allow it to work. If creative, sticks their hands in there and makes them do stuff, you won't see him on Raw. You'll barely see him on Superstars. And then it'll be back to just jobbing single wrestlers. So it's one of those things you just have to play it out and see. Me personally, I like it. It's cool because they're all weirdos. None of them make sense, and to me, I found that pretty funny.
Yeah, to me, it even seems like they don't make sense by themselves, and they make even less sense together as a team.
Yes, exactly.
Which then even makes it even perfect and better, I guess, in that way. And I was kind of thinking of that as well, the correlation between Heath Slater and Long Island Iced Zack Ryder. and they're starting from the internet stuff because I know Zack Ryder had that internet championship belt even when he was doing that. And then it, came and then he became the United States champion, I believe. Maybe something in the cards there for Heath Slater. I think he would deserve another person that's quote unquote a jobber that might deserve a push in a title reign of some sort would be uh, R-Truth. R-Truth, everything that he's done and everything. I think he would make a good maybe IC champion or something for a short term. I don't know. But excuse me. Next, the New Day and their promo. I mean, to me, the New Day. I said that in the beginning I didn't like them, and then I got used to them, and I started to like them. They're cool, and then they're trendy, and now they're just. I don't know. To me, it's just like oversaturated. Like it just gets old at some point, just with anything. Like the same thing I say about Bray Wyatt promos. I mean, geez, you say the same dang things, same time. It's not interesting, especially after you lose to the Undertaker, and you still try to call yourself like a new phenom, whatever. You just lost to the Undertaker. Some kind of that correlation too. Only here with the New Day, when Chris Jericho makes his return, I like how they did that with them. The New Day was doing a countdown to something, and then it turned into the regular Y2J countdown. And I'm a mark for Jericho, as people already know. Um, one of a million Jerichoholics and whatever. But glad to see him back, even whatever short time this will be. Um, Hopefully, it'll be all the way up to WrestleMania. He'll be in the Royal Rumble. Maybe he'll be in the Final Four. And me as a mark, you're talking about how you want Kevin Owens to not only be in the Final Four, but maybe even win it and be the champion. I kind of would hope that for Dean Ambrose, but he has his own feud and his own title that he has right now, the IC title. I don't see that happening, but the mark in me would like to see that happen, of course. So, what are your thoughts on this segment with the New Day and the interaction there with Chris Jericho?
For me, and a lot of people will have different opinions. Me, it's just like it's not a shock value when Jericho comes out anymore to me. It's just like, oh, it's Jericho. Great, cool, he's back, wonderful. I don't have that like, holy shit, it's Jericho, he's back. Like it just doesn't do anything to me. And I'm immune to Jericho appearances now.
Hmm.
And that I don't hate the guy. I don't.
I
I
know.
think he was great. Something like that. It doesn't give me that shock value. I had a gut feeling when the New Day started that countdown that Jericho was gonna pop out somehow. Just for me, it was the writing on the wall when they were doing a countdown, and then when they hit 5, that's when Jericho's countdown started, and I was like, I knew it. I knew it right away.
So it wasn't even like a nostalgic reaction to you of Chris Jericho being there. It's just like blah to you.
No, it wasn't a nostalgic feeling, and this is why. Go back to I believe it was a Night of Champions when he teamed with Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose, and how he left at the end of that match, where he kind of bumped Dean Ambrose, and you kind of saw like a little bit of friction there. And that I still need, as a fan, I still need questions to what happened there. Like, is Jericho turning? Are we going to see maybe Jericho versus Ambrose at WrestleMania? And that was that what it's building towards, like that. And then Jericho came out of the happy-go-lucky babyface. So I'm still a little confused as to what's going on. Maybe they're doing a slow burn. Maybe they're not. Maybe they just kind of buried that. We'll just have to see. But I wanted answers to that. I didn't get it, so that's why I wasn't really like too enthused with his comeback.
Now, what I did like what they did, and I kind of was wondering if they would do something like that because I was watching something on the network. Actually, first I was watching on YouTube, then on the network when Chris Jericho debuted, and he was talking about at that time in his promo about the ratings and all that other stuff and whatever. And I thought, hey, 2015, now 2016, you can actually try to put that in a promo, and it kind of means something with the WWE audience because of the issues. And that's exactly what he did, to a lesser extent this time than in his debut in WWE. But I kind of like that, and I kind of, like I said, I was hoping that would actually happen, that he would make a return and do that type of promo again, because it works here even now in 2016 because of what the WWE Universe thinks of the WWE product right now and its issues and subscriptions. He even brought it up to date, of course, with network subscriptions and stuff like that. So I thought at least that aspect of it to it was pretty cool to me, because I was kind of hoping that actually would happen, because it would make sense with everything that the WWE Universe always complains about. Even with this Raw, people are also, I guess before I move on, there's one thing I also want to talk about with the Royal Rumble news. I think it's the young fans that aren't too keen with this idea of being the title on the line because they don't remember. Well, A, they might not remember '92 because they weren't old enough to watch it. B, they just don't know their history. Or C, they just don't care because I know I saw one YouTube video of a WWE fan going nuts and being upset about, oh, you're breaking from tradition. How dare you do this? Why are you putting the title on the line? You're not going to have a contender. All this and all that. And as I respect his opinion and what he said, I don't see that. As we talked about earlier. So do you think it's just a younger fan issue, or do you think there is legitimacy to people not liking this idea of having the title on the line at the 2016 Royal Rumble?
I get it. I get both arguments. Some fans are spoiled. Some fans don't know the history. Some fans just want it, don't want to see change. Um, I get the argument where it's like the Royal Rumble builds new stars and it gives you that push. It puts that rocket on your back and it sends you in the sky. And that's why I always loved the Royal Rumble, because you got to see a new star being born. That's why I always hated when guys like John Cena would win the Royal Rumble. You've already won the Royal Rumble before. I don't want to see you. I want to see somebody brand new get that spotlight. Throwing a title in there, it adds interest, it adds intrigue. Like I said earlier, I like that aspect, and you could still build a contender. I mean, you got Fastlane. You could build a number one contender there. You don't have to have your champion on Fastlane. You could basically have that pay-per-view to build your number one contender. And that they already had a tournament happen. So, I mean, I don't see them going that direction again, but there's ways where you could build a number one contender. You can have like a fatal four-way match. I mean, they're not going to do an elimination chamber anymore the month before WrestleMania because, I mean, there's chances of injuries there, and they don't want to lose contenders that are going to be big stars and big draws at WrestleMania. There's so many things you could do with that Fastlane pay-per-view. You don't have to have a title defense. You could just have the champion just sit back and relax, and he could just have his ticket already punched to WrestleMania or that. So, I mean, that's why I said it's intriguing to see what happens next, and I look forward to it. Excuse me for one more minute. I just have to take my stuff out the oven, and I'll be right back.
Okay. And as he goes, I'm going to actually talk about the match before the main event, the Monday Night Raw tag team match, where you had the Dudley Boys, at least the Lucha Dragons against the New Day. Match was all right. I think to me, what was more entertaining was just New Day and playing the trumpet and Big E gyrating or whatever. That was, I guess, more entertaining than the match itself. I'm not saying the match was bad, but it's just that part more entertaining than that. But now moving into the main event to where the biggest news happened, of course, with the announcement of the Royal Rumble. But the match itself, Sheamus versus Roman Reigns, title match for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, and Mr. McMahon being the guest referee. Now going into this match, superstars were coming down. I kind of had a feeling maybe this, he's going to continue like an Austin one, like Austin McMahon way back when. I guess it makes sense. It doesn't make sense to rehash stuff from the past, but some of that, I guess, if it works, you're trying to strike oil twice or strike with iron hot, I guess, something to that extent. And here you could have either McMahon screwing over Roman Reigns and him losing the title to Sheamus, or Roman getting over on Vince McMahon and maybe having a situation. And I even thought, like I said, I saw it just before the match happened, and it looked like there's an opportunity for it to happen. With Roman Reigns to count Vince McMahon's hand against his will, like he was knocked out or something, like Austin did during their own rivalry. Then you had Stephanie McMahon there in the fray, and how they went there. Roman Reigns won the match, and then Vince McMahon announced that at the Royal Rumble he will be defending his title, and he will be defending it against 29 other superstars in the Royal Rumble match itself. As he put it, one versus all, right? There's your one versus all. And I have a feeling that in the weeks to come, because you still have 3 weeks to the 2016 Royal Rumble, and with the weeks to come, you can actually have Mr. McMahon or Stephanie McMahon, one of them, saying that, Roman Reigns, you are going to be number 1 in the Royal Rumble. You're not going to be number 6. You're sure as heck are not going to be number 30. Um, they can have him at number 1 overall and have him go go through all 29 other superstars, as Mike Colon was talking about earlier. Have him go through everybody and to see if he defends the title. Now I know some of the people didn't like this idea because they think that it's only going to be Roman Reigns, and it could be. He could win. He could survive the odds or whatever, and retain his championship. But I think with now having the title on the line, it gives more intrigue. Colon, what did you think of the main event there with Reigns versus Sheamus and everything that went down? With the McMahons and Roman Reigns as well.
Honestly, I'm going to be honest with you. I wasn't really too intrigued about the main event because I knew something was going to happen, and I think that took away from the match itself. Especially McMahon as referee, I think that took away from the match. I wasn't too into it because I was expecting something to happen at the end. And then they hit with the announcement, and by the time that announcement hit, I was already distracted by other news like that. But I don't know, the announcement was good. I thought it was, a cool way to go. Cool way to do it.
It's really unexpected because I know we talked in the past week, whether it was here on my show or on Main Event Marks, about maybe actually having the title on the line. Maybe Vince McMahon last week was supposed, they were going to book it where he was going to strip him of the title and have the title on the line for grabs for him trying to reclaim it for a third time. I actually like them doing it this way than that way because A, then he won't be going for his third, but also 2, with him actually defending it, gives it its own unique twist, even more so than just it being in the line in general for 30 men to win the grandest prize in pro wrestling, the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. So I definitely like it. Now, what I thought was going to happen, I thought Triple H was going to return on Raw. I thought at some point there, especially after when Stephanie McMahon was in the ring trying to get away from Roman, I thought Triple H's music was going to hit and he was going to come down and screw him over then. I thought maybe that could have been the spot. So for the way that it ended, just without anything like that, and Roman just getting a clean win, I'm kind of disappointed. And then you had the announcement, and that, to my spirit, I think the Royal Rumble could be pretty good as a pay-per-view and as a Royal Rumble match. Could be very good and a lot better than, like I said, at the top of the show, a lot better than most people think. You got to give it a chance. I know one of my new friends are going to give the WWE Network a try here in January, as I've been promoting it to them a couple weeks to watch the Rumble, the best pay-per-view WWE has, or at least second best to WrestleMania. Hopefully he enjoys it too. That's another thing. If you have new subscribers, you're gonna have the month for free. They're gonna get the Royal Rumble for free. You better put on a dang good Royal Rumble. I know a lot of people worry about Roman Reigns. Maybe if he wins, just have a win 2 in a row and whatever. Now, one thing I wanted to bring up with you, Cologne, is this whole Daniel Bryan thing. I think now that the WWE World Heavyweight Championship is on the line at the 2016 Royal Rumble, I see maybe even at 0% chance of Daniel Bryan being in this Rumble. I still think he's going to have to retire at some point. I don't see him coming back in the ring in any capacity. Now, do you think now with the title being on the line, you think it's less of a chance to see Daniel Bryan in the Rumble match?
Yeah, I don't see him being in the Rumble because if you're going to debut Daniel Bryan or re-debut him at the Rumble, you're going to need him to win just to get him over. I saw, in my mind, I pictured Daniel Bryan coming in as the surprise number 30 entrant and winning the Rumble and going to WrestleMania to face the champion. I feel like the WWE is swerving us with this whole injury thing, and he's been completely healthy and cleared for the past couple of months and ready to go. They're just waiting. So maybe they hold off Daniel Bryan to like the fast lane if they start to build a number 1 contender there.
But you do think he is going to come back in the ring?
Yeah, I think he's going to come back. He's crazy. He's nuts. I remember him the first time he had that injury. He was talking about how he was trying to develop a style where he can wrestle with one arm. He's out of control. So yeah, I don't see him. If they clear him, he's coming back.
And I think that's where the tricky part is. I think he even said it in interviews about him being cleared by his own doctors, but not by WWE doctors, which I think is the one that means the most. Obviously, it's the company you work for. If WWE is too worried about him getting injured or anything, and him being a big asset to the company, even in other ways, you don't want to jeopardize his life or his career and have him be too hot-headed and too gung-ho and coming back. If he's not going to be okay with changing his wrestling style, and he's not going to be okay with maybe other demands that WWE puts on him, even if he is cleared, because he wants to do everything 100%. He wants to do everything his way and everything, which I guess I commend him to, being himself and not letting others change him. But to the same respect, you also got to think of your family. You have a wife. At some point, you want to have kids and all this other stuff and a future. You don't want to do anything to hurt that. So that's why I think and kind of predict and assume that it's going to go more on the side of him.
Yeah, I think if he's getting cleared by his doctors and other doctors, but not WWE officials, maybe he asks for his release from the contract and he can go compete at Ring of Honor, maybe go to New Japan, like that. Those schedules will actually be probably a lot better for him because they only do a couple of nights a week and he has a bunch of nights off to relax and recuperate. Whether the WWE schedule, I mean, you're on the road 5 to 6 days a week. If you're John Cena, it's 7 days a week. And that's maybe he needs a lesser travel schedule. Maybe he needs more grind. Maybe he comes back and they actually bless him with a better travel schedule.
No, it definitely would help out, but I still, like I said, I still think and assume, in my opinion, that he'll retire. If he doesn't retire, then that's obviously better. But I just think that's the way it should go, and then that's the way it probably will go. Well, let's go into that news that you were talking about, the signing of WWE signing the Bullet Club. Now, Bullet Club and AJ Styles, which is part of the Bullet Club previously. This afternoon, I did my due diligence about finding out more about it because I never really heard of them. The only thing I heard about the Bullet Club in the past was their issues with using Too Sweet stuff and click kind of thing and all the other stuff being an issue. That's the only things I've heard about them and their New Japan stuff, and that's why I thought that I was surprised that they got signed because I thought, wait, aren't these the same guys that that had that issue with the talent, especially Triple H being part of the clique himself, and them being like an NWO over there in New Japan, adding members. It seems like adding members all the time. I mean, even Scott Hall's son was a member, from what I saw, I guess, of the Bullet Club. So interesting that WWE decides to sign them, and that they themselves signed with WWE. Was that what I thought was animosity or issues or whatever? I guess either that wasn't anything, or money talked, and they decided to walk over here to WWE.
Yeah. No, there was no animosity, there was no hatred, there was no nothing towards the Too Sweet. I mean, you got guys like Kevin Nash and Scott Hall who endorsed the Bullet Club. I mean, you got Scott Hall's son, Cody Hall, who's a member of the Bullet Club. Mm-hmm. If Triple H had a problem with it, that Too Sweet would have been patented and done and over with by now because the WWE has the power to do that. And that's I don't see that they had a problem. And those are rumors about the Too Sweet and them using it. But if the WWE wanted to shut that down, they could have did that with ease, no questions asked. I know for a fact though that Triple H is very high on guys like Machine Gun Carl Anderson. Machine Gun Carl Anderson actually has a podcast, and I remember one of his podcasts where he got to interview his best friend Finn Balor, and he got to do that at, I believe it was either the Performance Center or it was at Full Sail before an NXT taping. So Triple H let these guys come in backstage or into the Performance Center and do their own podcast promoting their own promotion, their own club. So I don't see animosity. I think Triple H is a smart businessman. He knows what he's doing, and he knows the Bullet Club is one of the biggest groups in professional wrestling. So bringing them in is a smart idea. Now, there's some news broke today. that the Bullet Club actually turned on AJ Styles. I saw the video this morning.
Yeah, I saw that as well.
No, AJ Styles is no longer a member of the Bullet Club, and that's so it's interesting to see how that plays out. If all three members of the Bullet Club are coming to the WWE. Sensei Nakamura, that guy will be your favorite wrestler come 2017 if they use him correctly. That guy is amazing in the ring, has a lot of charisma. And I watched Wrestle Kingdom 10, and it was Nakamura versus AJ Styles, and that's already a candidate for match of the year. And that match was just amazing. And so those two coming in, if they go to NXT, well, Nakamura will definitely go to NXT because he's not as well known to the American fans or to the mainstream American fans.
Mm-hmm.
AJ, I would like to see him go to NXT, but he has enough star power. He can go to the main roster. Doc Gallows was on the main roster before. He was Luke Gallows. He was in the Straight Edge Society with CM Punk, and that way back.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to keep him and Machine Gun Carl Anderson together because they're a tag team. You can't separate those guys. And we'll see, man. Hopefully, the WWE could pull more strings, and later on down the road, they could pull in the Young Bucks. That's probably one of the best tag teams in the world. And the Young Bucks, to this day, what's up?
Oh, I was just gonna say, that's another one that I thought there was issues and animosity. Maybe I'm just maybe I'm drinking Kool-Aid of rumors too much, but I thought that was another group that was having animosity with WWE, and maybe a tag team that WWE might not ever go after, or they won't ever sign with WWE. I think I even read something in the past, whether it was a rumor or not. Last time their contract was up, and WWE was pursuing them, and they kind of said "F you" to WWE at that time or whatever. So I don't know. I mean, maybe like I said, maybe I'm reading into too much, but it seems like they, like the Bullet Club, would be a surprise to me if they ever got signed. If the Young Bucks got signed to WWE, for WWE to reach out to them, or for them to even to accept an offer from WWE, because they seem like they're their own kind of beast in a way. It's their personality and whatever. Um, not going to the WWE. So I don't know. What are your thoughts? Do you think the Young Bucks would be okay coming to WWE? Hey, Cologne. Hey, Cologne. I don't mean to stop you, but I couldn't hear anything that you just said.
Oh, my bad.
Okay, I'm just gonna ask again. Do you think the Young Bucks would ever come to WWE?
In a heartbeat, they would come the second a contract was laid out in front of them. There's no animosity. Once again, those are rumors. They embrace the suck it on the DX chop, and they give DX the credit for it. They don't, excuse me, they don't take it as their own. And that I went to a show in August, and the Young Bucks were a part of the main event, and that place just went nuts for the Young Bucks. They're probably one of the most entertaining tag teams, and in my opinion, right now, one of the best tag teams in the world. Those guys can put on 5-star matches, and we need tag teams like that in the WWE. That I could just picture it now: Chad Gable and Jason Jordan versus the Young Bucks. That's just take my money, just take it. And that, but yeah, if they had an opportunity, they would sign.
Okay. Yeah, because I thought there was animosity there between again Triple H and the Young Bucks with the whole the suck it stuff, with the same thing as I thought with the Bullet Club. But I guess that was nothing but rumors. So yeah, that would be kind of cool to see the Young Bucks. They are a pretty good tag team from the little that I saw with YouTube videos or clips of the Young Bucks in action and a couple matches and promos actually as well.
I will recommend that if you ever get time, it's 4 hours, but I highly recommend to watch New Japan's Pro Wrestling Wrestle Kingdom 10. That's their WrestleMania.
Mhm.
WWE has WrestleMania. New Japan Pro Wrestling has Wrestle Kingdom 10, which they have in the Tokyo Dome every year. They only have one show in the Tokyo Dome, that's the Wrestle Kingdom. And from the first match all the way to the main event, it's like you can't take your eyes off the screen. The Young Bucks won the IWGP Tag Team titles, and that match was awesome. It was just fast paced. It was a fatal 4-way tag match for the titles. It was incredible.
Hmm.
And
Now with the signing that WWE actually did with the Young Bucks or with AJ Styles, I kind of was gonna bring this up at this point and something that you brought up earlier. I kind of would see, or at least I'm trying to have it as a surprise, but to the WWE audience, it wouldn't be as much. AJ Styles being a again quote unquote surprise entrant in the 2016 Royal Rumble, maybe at like a 16 or 23 or so, or somewhere in that ballpark of being in the Royal Rumble. I could see that happening with them being signed, and then yeah, you have Gallows, Anderson there as tag team. You have him growing in NXT, and Nakamura a couple weeks ago, probably like 3 weeks ago, 3 to 4 weeks ago, was one of my topics I was going to bring up. I main event marks one of the weeks that we weren't able to do our specific topic stuff in my news. Because at that point, the news was that WWE was looking into signing him and was interested in Nakamura, and now obviously they signed him, so they definitely were interested, of course. So do you think there is a high chance for AJ Styles to be a special entrant in the Rumble?
if the WWE was smart, yeah, just to get that shock value. I don't see him winning the Rumble, but just to debut him at the Rumble. But if they're going to put him in the Rumble, he's the type of guy that you're going to have to keep on the main roster. Um, I personally think keep him on NXT. NXT is about to become a touring brand, and they need as much star power as they possibly can to sell out. NXT just saw tickets are going on sale Friday for NXT, which is about a half hour away from me. And I'm sure with these rumors and the signings of AJ Styles and the Bullet Club, that's going to sell out in like 5 minutes. Right.
Oh.
So I'm going to be all over that. But yeah, they need guys like AJ Styles. They need Sami Zayn. Be down there for a little longer. Bullet Club is going to be a great addition when they do show up, which I keep saying Bullet Club. It's really not all the members of the Bullet Club. It's only 3 of them that are coming. And then you have Shinsuke Nakamura, who to the NXT universe, they know exactly who he is. The WWE fan base, they wouldn't have a clue. You would hear pin drops if Nakamura came out in a Raw. That just like when Kevin Owens debuted, you heard pin drops. People didn't know who he was. Now they have a clear understanding who that man is.
Are you almost worried, and something that actually I just thought of right now, that maybe WWE might package, whether it's Nakamura or whatever, these members of the Bullet Club, since I guess I heard they can't use Bullet Club because that's a New Japan Pro Wrestling trademark name. They have to call themselves something else. But that's only an issue for Gallows and Anderson as a tag team. But anyways, back to Nakamura. Do you think that there could be a situation where when he is in WWE, whether NXT or the main roster, that WWE might package him in a way that he won't get it over as much as if they brought him in as the way he was in New Japan Pro Wrestling?
Um, no, and the reason why is because he's so over with the hardcore fan base that, excuse me, that the fans wouldn't even allow it to happen. You have riots. I mean, the fans will easily turn on whatever matches happen. I don't think it would happen if he's in NXT. I think Triple H will let him be who he is. That I would question that, however, if he goes up to the main roster, because Kevin Dunn will probably make him do a stupid Japanese gimmick and use that, or he could be the next Hiroshi Tatsu. I don't know if you remember that guy,
Mm-hmm.
but that just a comic relief Japanese guy. And that's why I'm scared for a guy like Hideo Itami. to be anywhere near a guy like Kevin Dunn or Vince McMahon. And that, but
Yeah, I
yeah,
never even thought of that because if you had a Tommy and Nakamura together, you could have a hopefully not, but with Kevin Dunn in WWE main roster, you could have a 2016 version of Kai and Tai.
they have that. But Nakamura and Atami have a history, and a lot of the hardcore fans know about it. So that would just hopefully they could do what they did with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens and just continue that rivalry going on. Because the one thing I love the most about the Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn rivalry is the fact that they didn't insult the hardcore fans' intelligence. You knew these guys had a history. And in Ring of Honor, when he was Kevin Steen versus El Generico being Sami Zayn, his name down in Ring of Honor, they had probably one of the biggest feuds in 2011. And just bringing that history and their past and including it into the storylines, I mean, you can't insult the fans' intelligence these days. They're just going to call you out on it. And if you have not seen the ladder match from Ladder Wars, I believe 2011, between YouTube, it's going to be Kevin Steen versus El Generico, Sami Zayn being in a mask because he used to play this luchador. And that, I highly suggest you go watch it because that is an incredible match.
I'll definitely check that out when I'm able to. No other news or notes on my end with WWE, and I said my piece on Raw. I'd probably give Raw probably a 7 out of 10 with my rating scale. I guess, Cologne, if you have anything else left to say, anything for wrestling WWE, and give yourself a plug for how people can find you on Twitter.
Everything that broke out last night about the Bullet Club, I'm excited about that. I hope that everything falls into place. Hearing news like that is very positive. The best part about it is WWE.com acknowledged these rumors about Bullet Club. If you can go to WWE.com, you could read the whole story they wrote about it. They went to Triple H for comments, and he declined any comments. So that's being, playing, going with the ball, rolling with it. That. So that goes. You can follow me on Twitter at Mike Cologne for real. It's Mike Cologne and number 4, the word real, and tune into Main Event Mark's new time or no, same time, new day. Wednesday nights. We debut tomorrow night, our little season premiere. We're going to see how that goes on Wednesday nights. Maybe we might jump back and forth to Thursdays depending on, if there's a big NXT special. I definitely will not be on Main Event Marks because not for nothing, but I like to invest my time in watching the shows. So we'll see how it goes.
Awesome. You can follow me on Twitter, as you can see there, at WWE_podcast. Like I said, check out Main Event Marks, where I am part of the gang there as the co-host of that show, which will be tomorrow for the 2016 series season premiere. There, also check out another wrestling podcast, Steve Credo, and his co-host over there, anotherwrestlingpodcast.com, on Twitter at AWP and at Steve Credo to follow him as well. Thanks for everybody that watched live or archived, and I'll be back tomorrow with Talking Package with Steve, another lively episode, talking NFL playoff preview, coaching carousel, and all like. So enjoy your evening, and as always, take care.